broadcast. Let's see if we hath been broadcasted. We hath been broadcasted, Jim. We're live. All right, here we go. Let me send
Here we go. Here we go.
Let me see. Oh, Jeremy R. already in the chat, ready to roll. There he is. There's the link, Jim. So if you click that and then just mute the audio, but leave it playing, and then that way you can have a slightly delayed interaction with my webcam footage. So there we go. So here's me.
Firefox is installing. Yep.
Nice. Very nice.
Okay. Now you came up with Water World. Do I click on Space Audits down here below?
Water World. Yeah. So I actually linked you the wrong thing. Let me link you the correct thing. Here you go.
Okay.
Wait, nope, that's still what? What's happening?
I'm going to go ahead and back out of this because it got sent to my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. It's supposed to be this link. Wow, it's doing it. What the fuck?
You linked me to my channel.
Retarded. There we go. For some reason, I was not updating the copy paste, and it just kept linking you the same thing. Oh, dude, it's even worse than that, bro. I was sending it to the wrong person. Lamau? Oh, shit. That's hilarious. Okay. Well, here's the correct link. Possibly.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
I'm fairly certain that's it.
Yeah, I think that's recognizable from the other couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, it sounds. All right. Cool.
And so all I do is make sure I'm on mute here on YouTube, right?
Yes.
Okay. So right now I have the I'm muted and I'm on. I see the bear and I see you.
There you go.
Okay, now, when I'm here on mute, can you hear me?
When you mute on Discord?
When I mute on YouTube, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So as long as I'm unmuted on Discord and muted on YouTube, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Cool. Thanks.
Yep. NP. All right, let's see what we got. Well, wait, why didn't that work? How do I get the right chat up?
Me?
Yeah. There it is. There we go. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Had a full retard moment. All right, so we're gonna kick off episode 2 here. We're on the agenda. We're gonna continue on with Arthur Eddington, the Ehrman and Gilmore review of the gravitational redshift experiments, and the solar observations that were done by Charles St. John and John Evershades that were supposed to be the proof of the physicality of space-time that was supposed to facilitate the energy exchange that was necessary to even produce redshift. Without these observations, relativity really falls apart entirely because it can't even produce redshift. It can't explain geodesic orbits, can't do anything. So we're going to continue and see what these men had to say about these observations that aren't really talked about. We're going to follow up on some Coriolis effect with a 4.4 mile long distance shot. And Jim is going to reveal the cure for globalepsy.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, Jim, do you want to start us off with globalepsy or?
Okay, because I know Oh, someday we're going to have to, not tonight, someday we're going to have to do, fill everybody in on and put it on record, essential relativity as well. Someday.
Yeah.
Anyway, so should I start out with globalepsy and how we can get over that?
Yeah, first, why don't we talk about a little bit what globalepsy is and like
Okay,
what the
okay,
root
cool.
cause is? Because some people think it's contagious, some people think that it's you're born with it, like it's a genetic thing. Some people think you learn it. It's just really bizarre. So why don't we get into what it is, how it spreads?
Sometimes, sometimes you'll come home from the hospital
Mhm.
and mom and dad above the crib will have this thing hanging down when you're 3 days old, and you'll look up at it and you'll see Saturn and Jupiter and the moon and the sun. And every time you wake up from your nap or whatever, you look up and you see a fairy tale up there, and you get it every single moment that you're not in the crib. And then if the parents don't do that to you, then they'll start reading to you when you're 2, 3, 4 years old. They'll take they'll take a book that they found, and they'll flip through the book,
What
and
kind of
they'll
book
go,
is
hey,
it?
well, this is a physics book anyway, and they'll flip through it, and they'll go, hey, Johnny or Beth or whatever, see, and then Beth will look there, and she'll go, hey, mommy, daddy, what's that round thing? And mommy and daddy go, well, it's where you live. It's a ball. It's a globe. It's a planet. And the little 2, 3 year old Johnny or Beth will go, that's really cool. And if that doesn't get them, then when they walk into kindergarten when they're 5 or 6 years old, then they get this thing right here, and by the teacher's desk, and the teacher would never lie to them, right? And
No.
and the teacher doesn't lie to them because the teacher believes the lie. So I don't blame the teacher. And so they see this, and by the time they're 10 years old, which will be fifth grade, fourth grade, they're so into this thing that they can't get off of it because they're so into it. And if they did get off of it age 10, then their family, friends, schoolmates, everybody, teachers would make fun of them. So they stay with their little ball, and then entertainment helps them with Universal Studios and the globe and the ball and Universal coming across the front, and you get it everywhere. And so by the time you're a certain age and somebody says maybe this isn't true, you live on something else, then you go, those people are nuts. And that's basically, it is a total indoctrination program, pretty much from when they bring you home
So
from the hospital.
So, in short, it's the immediate response or rejection to an idea that's contrary to your preconceived notions that you've been taught your entire life.
That's
And
very deep. That's very deep.
is that kind of more or less what it is? And like that physical response comes in the form of immediately rejecting what you're hearing and continuing to ask subsequent follow up questions before you could even hear a full response. Is that kind of like what happens? You think?
I'm
In
telling you.
your now, no, in your medical opinion, like I know you're not a doctor and you can't give medical advice, but like hypothetically, if you had the credentials to speak on this matter, like what would your thoughts on it be?
If I was in psychiatry or sociology or whatever, it would be pure brainwashing. It would be indoctrination, brainwashing. It would be you can't think anything else, which is indoctrination, and that's all it would be. Without getting into the political realm, it is basically taking your mind and filling it with a lie, and repeating the lie, because people would rather believe a big lie than a little lie, and if you tell the big lie often enough, sooner or later people will come to believe it. And I truly believe inside the government, inside of these places, whether it's in the United States, UK, wherever it is, I think they have behavioral psychologists who know exactly how to manipulate people's thoughts and minds.
Well, they wouldn't be very good at their job if they didn't. So So what do you think is the cure for globelepsy? Like, what can we do right now to help treat these people that are suffering as globeleptics? Because a lot of people don't realize they're globeleptics until they have they spontaneously have a response to new information, and that's when their underlying traits kick in. You know how they say you can be a what's it called, a super carrier when you don't have any symptoms, but but then suddenly you do or whatever. Like you had it the whole time or whatever they say. I forget the word for it. It's very sciencey. Um, but yeah, so when someone
Well, yeah,
finds out that they're globaleptic, what steps should they take to counteract that?
yeah. I think you were saying, they're a carrier. The other,
Super carrier of
yeah,
globularity.
you're a super carrier.
Yeah,
And the carrion is up here in the mind because the eyes are useless if the mind is blind.
yeah.
And so what I do is there's this saying that I copied down. Let me just tell you real quickly. I'll take 30 seconds, if
Okay.
that long.
Well, I got a
Um,
stopwatch, so we'll.
okay. And I got it right here because it's one of those things I copied down. Um, there's a meme that I saw a long time ago. It says, I don't share my thoughts because I think it will change the minds of people who think differently. I share my thoughts to show people who already think like me that they're not alone.
That's a very
And,
powerful statement. Who said that?
and oh, I just saw it in a meme a number of years ago, and
Yeah,
it
I'm
was so
gonna
strong.
attribute it to Tiger Woods.
Okay.
Just so we can add some credibility to it. I think people still like remember him fondly.
Yeah.
I don't really follow sports, but I think they're doing great.
I think out in the real world, when we go out and talk to people outside in our apartments or our houses, I think what we do is we smile. We let them know that we're human. If we go into a restaurant, we make sure that we tip well, that we're not, quote, cheapskates. I think it's important that we are passionate about what we believe in, that we speak intelligently about an idea or concept. And then when we're done, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we thank them for their time because it is their time. And we just took up part of it talking about something that they perhaps for the very first time in their life heard about. And that is that we don't live on a spinning space ball in the vacuum of outer space. And that is, to a lot of people, that's a shock. I think that's an actual shock when people say, that person who just talked to me doesn't believe what I've been taught. And they actually presented it in some sort of a coherent fashion. And they were nice about it. They thanked me for it. And guess what? They gave me their business card and said, call me anytime. I think that is powerful. And if they never call you again, you are somebody who took the time to be with them. Quick story, long story short. Uh, New Year's Eve 2022, I was at this restaurant in Dallas, and to the left of me, there was two couples, and I was brought a glass of champagne because it was New Year's Eve, and the people to the left of me said, "Hey, you got a glass of champagne from the owner," because I knew the owner, and they said, "Hey, by the way, do you want some of our pizza?" Which was really nice of them. And so I kind of saw that as an invitation. So I moved over a little bit, and I said, "Hey, and I started talking about that thing we're not supposed to talk about.
Mm.
And the one guy said, "Well,
Voldemort. For those of you listening at home, he's not supposed to talk about Voldemort. Sorry, go on, Jim.
and so the guy and the lady, I don't know if they were married or boyfriend girlfriend, he kind of said, well, I have my belief system and I really don't want to talk about it, and we bumped hands and stuff like that, bumped wrists. And
Yeah,
the guy across looked at me and said, you sound like my son. My son talks like you. And so that was really nice. And after New Year's, after they did the balloon drop, I said to the guy who said it, that I sound like his son. We saw each other after 12 midnight, and I
did you
said
guys
Happy
kiss?
New. I said Happy New Year to him, and the band started playing again. I leaned into his, to his ear, and I said, "Don't worry about it. Just don't do it anymore." And Happy New Year. And
Yeah,
then
that's what's up.
a year later, just last January, a few months ago, I went back there for New Year's Eve again. And the guy who told me, "Hey, I don't want to talk about it," we bumped wrists. He was sitting on the other side of where I was the year before. He was just on the other side because I sat in the exact same place. And I sat down, I looked at him, he goes, "I can't forget you. I talked to you last year. It wasn't 5 minutes. I couldn't forget you all year. And there you are again." You never know who you're going to meet. I talked to somebody Thanksgiving of this 2022, and we talked about all three things. We talked about the United States, we talked about that one thing we can't talk about, and we
Mhm.
talked about the spinning space ball. And I went in at Christmas time at the same time. I walked in, the guy was with somebody else, and he goes, "You're that guy." That's exactly what he said. And I leaned into him. I wished him a Merry Christmas. And I said, "We don't live on a spinning space ball," and stuff like that. And I walked away and I was nice and everything. You,
Dude,
you,
that's
you,
it's very 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 cool move by you to handle that way.
you never know what seed you can plant. You don't know if you're going to water it. You don't know if you're just going to plant it and no water and it dies, but you don't know. And there are ways, and you can just be nice about it. But one thing you got to do, and I told these three guys at the beach a few days ago, I said, "Guys, you kind of like what you hear." One guy kind of agreed with me, and you're hearing this maybe for the first time. Don't go somewhere with your family and say, "Hey, we don't live on a spinning space ball." Don't say it. Say to yourself, "We don't live on a spinning space ball," and then take a few months to learn why.
Just
Because
say
when
it
you
out
don't,
loud a couple of times and try it on for size, see how it
yeah,
fits.
yeah, yeah, see how it sounds. But before you go tell your family you don't live on a spinning space ball, research it. Because as soon as you tell them that don't live on a spinning space ball, first of all, they're going to think you're crazy. Second of all, they're going to ask you questions, and you don't have an answer. They're definitely going to think you're crazy. So take the time to learn. And I said, if you go to YouTube, you may not learn. And what I'm going to start doing now that I'm going to get to my business cards in a week or 10 days, I'm going to give it to them.
So
Yeah.
specific. Yo, so you said that there were some vitamins involved earlier when we were talking, maybe.
Okay.
So what was
Okay.
the
Here
exact
we go.
cure? Because we kind of got a little sidetracked there.
I'm sorry. Here
I
we
think you
go.
mentioned that
Here
there
we
was an
go.
exact formula that somebody could take, and not necessarily all the things that you just said were.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
This is my public service announcement for today, or
yeah.
tonight, or
What do
for
you
the whole
got?
week going ahead. Do you suffer from a condition known as globelepsy? Do you often feel dizzy from spinning or from traveling at insane speeds throughout an ever expanding universe? Well, if you have, please take the free test developed by Bill Nye. Drive-through centers are available. This test will tell you if you test positive for globe AIDS. There is only one cure for globe AIDS, and it must be followed exactly as prescribed by an STPer. First, you take 2 Flintstone vitamins, then you eat 8 ounces of Barney Rubble, and then you drink some distilled water. Then you have to, and I'm saying you have to. There's this Alan guy. He has a new slide presentation called "How Math Becomes Reality." You have to see that, and call me in the morning after you do. So, globe AIDS is not terminal, though it does take double-digit brain cells to overcome its effects. What I prescribe to you now will help you manufacture and produce brain cells. You're welcome.
Nice.
Anyway,
No,
and
no, sorry. Go ahead,
and
Jim.
and and any withdrawal symptoms you may have when recovering from globe AIDS can easily be overcome by playing a simple, non-competitive game called Futon Foosball. Just throw something into the air that doesn't exist and try to hit it out of the park and have fun with it.
Absolutely. Now, Jim, I heard that Joe Rogan said that you can also eat fish oil or omega-3 brains or something like that, and that'll actually help grow your brainstem back or connect it to your vertebra or something like that. Are you familiar with that technique? Does that work at all, or should we just eat more Barney Rubbles? What
Joe
up,
Rogan.
Troubling Tribune?
Joe Rogan. I got no comment. I got no.
Dude, I was watching some clips of this of some people playing this game that I watch sometimes, and they were just casually chatting, and one of the guys goes, "Did you see that new episode of Joe Rogan?" And the other guy goes, "No, I sure didn't. I'm not fucking gay. I don't watch that shit." And it was really weird because he wasn't joking, and like he was like prime Joe Rogan audience, you know. So I thought that was really. I had a special moment with that. I was like, good for that guy. So
I just want everybody to know, officially for the record, that I just put this stuff together, but it's actually Alan. It's actually AM who gave me the inspiration and much of the ideas in here.
nice. All right, so we're going to let's see.
You go to whatever you want to go to.
Yeah,
exactly.
let's bang out the rest of Coriolis real quick here.
Okay.
So I think I had some of that stuff saved that we were talking about. So to catch everyone up, who may or may not be here. Forgot how to type words.
I'm glad that the gentleman, his name was not Eric Haney, but
Steve or Humphreys.
yeah, Shepard Humphreys says it's okay to share that, that that talk right there where it says we do not, consider
Oh
Coriolis.
no. Well, I don't know if he consented to that, but that's part of Jaren's video, so he already put that out there. So
Yeah. So it's nice that record is out there.
yeah, it's dope, dude. And then just some follow up for those who don't know or may not hear the story but are hearing it for the first time. After Jaren emailed this guy in the video, he follows up with them. Anyway, and Bryant Myers, who turned into like an anti-flat earther, started harassing that guy and basically got him to like retract everything that he openly told Jaren and some other stuff that he shared with Jaren privately. And but yeah, Brian like harassed him he just bullied him into being like, oh yeah, it's definitely a globe. Like, that guy, I didn't mean it or whatever. So very high, but not the most high. That's from Lord Racer. Oh, hi, very high. Yo, what's up, dog? So anyway, just a quick recap on this video. This guy, Stephen Humphreys, thought it would be really tight to, set the world record for a long distance marksman. Retracted. It was Brian Myers had a video, where he had shared emails that he followed up on with this Humphreys guy, and he got him to say like, oh, it's definitely a globe, like, and like kind of disavow what he talked about Jaren with.
Mm-hmm.
And but he went into some pretty good detail, and we can also derive a couple of things to give some supportive evidence for flat Earth, positive evidence for flat Earth, rather than a thing that could go either way. I think this is pretty irrefutable, even by high globe standards. So the idea here is that the Earth rotates under the bullet. This guy made a shot that was 4.4 miles away. He accounted for a lot of factors, he says, but none of them were the Coriolis. But when you read articles about it, the authors will talk about how they accounted for Coriolis. So Jaren emails the guy and asks him personally if he how he accounts for Coriolis. And what he replies is, we did not take into account the Coriolis as much of that is lost in the weeds with respect to the 6 to 9 mile per hour wind, temperature rising, constantly adjusting for elevation, time of flight. The bullet's path is over 2,500 feet above the line of sight. So there's a lot going on up there, and we're unable to accurately predict or compensate for that. So keep in mind, if you're doing a shot like this, this is obviously very complex. There's a lot of factors to go into, a lot of things to consider, and we'll get into some of the super minute details of long distance shooting as we go on. But just like think about this. So let's say it's a given, like for sure the Earth's rotating under us. This is a thing that we have to account for, and this bullet guy has to account for it. So how would you account for it? You would shoot in the direction of the spin, right? So you would shoot facing east so that you could so that the speed of the bullet would match the spin, so that the target wouldn't be rotating underneath you. So you would just by virtue of facing east, you would by virtue of facing east, you would reduce the factor of that Coriolis effect as much as possible, really, because I looked into it. I don't have it specifically pulled up on this yet because I was kind of halfway through it. But the composition of the bullet that they used, and at the latitude or whatever that they're at, it actually closely matched the rotation of the Earth. So that would have been a great way for them to compensate for that. But we're gonna find out here that they didn't shoot in that direction. They actually shot in a different direction, and we'll get into which direction here in a second. So that was his publicly available details that he says on Coriolis, from the guy who pulled the trigger, from the guy that analyzed everything, figured everything out, applied all the factors, decided that the spin of the target underneath them at a flight time of, I think it was 24 seconds, 25 seconds.
Yes. 24 seconds.
Yeah, at a flight time of 24 seconds, the biggest possible factor of the entire shot. He was like, you know what? The fucking wind is gonna outweighs that. So we'll just go ahead and disregard that. So, like I said, shooting east would have been a great flat Earth proof. Globe proof. So what happened here? You go through their blog. I think the website is I don't have it. I cropped it out on here. It's nomadrifleman.com, something like that. Anyway, if you look up the record there, he shows the moon setting, or moonrise, whatever, and the time of which they were at, and the target was facing there. So I looked up which direction he was facing, shit. So when you get into long distance observation or long distance shooting in the military and stuff, I was reading a book, and this is just to give some citation to that. So anyway, this guy was one of the first founding members of Delta Force. He was really good at long distance reconnaissance, they call it. And one of the things he talks about in the training that they undergo is, they get really good at meditation and physical discipline and mastery of their body. Because when you're shooting at not even distances of that of 4.4 miles, but of 600, 700, when you're getting into that, when you're getting into 1,300, 1,500, everything becomes a huge factor, even your heartbeat. So they'll slow their heartbeat down, they'll slow their breathing down, and they'll shoot in between their heartbeats. And that's a quote from the guy, one of the founding members of Delta Force, saying all that. Never mentioned once in the book that they also account for the Coriolis. But I just think it's an important factor, or important thing to mention, of all the things that they possibly account for, the fucking target rotating under them would more easily be accounted for by shooting in the direction of that. So you would pick a location to shoot at that had a target that you could hit east going that way. You wouldn't just go any direction. You could even make an argument that shooting west would be decent. Obviously east would be optimal, but yeah, shooting west by southwest is fucking full dog shit for the globe. So that about wraps up that.
I did the math. I didn't do it. I just did it right here. It looks like if you're looking at 24 seconds, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If you're looking at 24 seconds at 4.4 miles, and of course you had a lot of lob involved in that.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong that, I don't know how far off I am. Is that like a 600 or 700 mile per hour bullet? Am I right or wrong on that? About 600 or 700 miles per hour. Bullet travel 4.4 miles.
That sounds exactly what it was, and I think that's what the latitude or speed would, as the rotational speed was at latitude too, because that was in Jackson something, Wyoming.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
about that. So yeah, they definitely would have shot west because when you're doing that kind of stuff, you're all about min maxing. You're not trying to fuck around and shoot in the opposite direction of where the target's rotating underneath you from, where you're gonna have 24 seconds for that target to be in a new location relative
Yeah.
where you originally fired the gun from. So that pretty much destroys the notion of a Earth rotating under a target. Now there is the thing of tropical storms, like hurricanes rotating counterclockwise and clockwise in their respective hemiplanes and or hemispheres, depending on which uh, you know belief system you're into or whatever. But there's a couple of things to explain that. I personally looked for like an hour or two looking for tropical storms specifically, not just like a tornado here and there, but specifically tropical storms, because that's like a big claim for them. I couldn't find any, but if anyone finds any, let me know, and I'll update that my belief system on that. But there definitely does appear to be some standard, rotation when you're at a certain uh, position. So we'll just wanted to throw that in there to make sure people don't go out there completely denying something and looking foolish. At least double check and make sure that you can find one rotating in a different direction. I couldn't, so, and I haven't seen one presented. Like I hear people talk about it, but I've never found one.
Yeah. I'm looking up. I'm fascinated. I've never grown up with bullets before or a gun before, so I'm not real sure about that. So I'm always interested in the miles.
Yeah.
And and I'm looking it up here. It says when bullets fly through the air, they do it in more than 2,600 feet per second. That's equivalent to 1,800 miles per hour. And it's like that's just amazing speed. I would love. Again, I haven't gotten into this ever in my life. I might start looking into some of these long distance shots and how fast we're going.
Yeah, for sure. Like the one thing is definitely you can like understand, like the earth definitely isn't rotating under the bullet, you know what I mean? That's pretty obvious. There's a lot of things to account for. Now I have a friend who took a expert shooter course thing. Who He lives in Oklahoma. Went on this like very expensive, really renowned course thing that this guy offers. And the stuff that he was teaching the class was like, all about how to account for that stuff. But my friend basically said that all of the equipment was already adjusted for it. So it was fine. But he said that the training instructor guy did talk about it, and he was like an ex-military guy. But the distances they were shooting at obviously weren't anywhere near that. But they always like talk about it. But then when you go to the extreme where it would be the most detrimental to your shot, where it would be like the biggest factor, right? Because your target's going to be in a different location, from when you pulled the trigger, right? And they're like, well, yeah, we don't account for it at that point. But at these like small distances, they're like, no, yeah, I mean, you account for it at 300 feet. You're like, what?
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so it's really bizarre. You know, you hear a lot of different claims, and but when you go into practical demonstration, when you have the guy that's on the ground pulling the trigger 4.4 miles away from a target, of all the things he's accounting for, Earth rotating ain't one of them. So I think we can wrap up on that. And then I'll send you some of the finer details on that so you can use that for your thing. But I think that's a really good one. And even a really big globe proponent lad said to me that if they shoot east, like it's definitely a globe proof, and it would be heavily against the flat Earth. And he was like, "Oh, his response was interesting." So that's always good. That's always a good sign.
Here's this just real quick to piggyback. Here's this article from Darcy Pettyhoff, 1979, in the New Scientist magazine. where it's a little article, and part of that article says that basically they're taught something in school, but when they get out to the real world, then they have to learn how it really is. But generally, when it comes to survival and doing things the right way, they don't have a problem finding out how to actually do it. They just have to get rid of what they've been taught, and oftentimes that's not hard to do because it says up here, it says one can of course believe anything one likes as long as the consequences of that belief are trivial. But when survival depends on belief, then it matters that belief corresponds to manifest reality. And I found that really interesting article from 1979 that you know if you're taught maybe Coriolis in school, but when you get out in the real world, there is none, and you have to change your belief system. But it's not so hard to do because when you're shooting and aiming at people, they're shooting and aiming back at you, and so it becomes a matter of survival.
Totally. There was something else I wanted to add real quick. You said about, you're taught one thing in school, but then when you do it in practice or, real world, it's different. That Shepard Humphreys guy was talking about the impact of the bullet. They expected it based on what they're taught and trained in school that it would that the deflection would be at a certain rotation or whatever. It would rotate down or whatever. But I think it rotated backwards.
Mm.
I forget the exact quote. I was just looking for it. But yeah, he was surprised by that because he was like, we're always taught that, whatever. But then in practical application, it actually rotates the opposite direction. So we're going to continue on now and pick up where we left off yesterday. And to give a quick recap into that, but before we get into that, Tribune said that he just destroyed somebody named Delcroze, and nothing makes me happier than when Troubling destroys somebody. So if you have a link to that, how do I watch it immediately?
I know Troubling has a YouTube channel, which I think is on here, and I think he has his own website too. So I think he puts it he puts it
Let's see
on
that.
Rockfin. He puts it on YouTube, and he might put it on his own channel. But it's called Troubling Tribune in both cases.
Oh, here we go. Limitless potential on True Earth with Delcroze. Who's Delcroze?
Yep.
Do you know him, Jim?
I don't know who that individual is.
Shout out to my boy Troubling Tribune, who was only 300 something, or yeah, 300 something subs off of being monetized on the YouTubes, which will be a significant upgrade for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Despite what people think about monetization and all that when trying to get things rolling, I have a friend who recently became monetized, and whenever he gets demonetized and stuff like that, the people that are monetized actually have a different team that they go through to talk to for YouTube support for things like when they
Uh-huh.
get strikes and stuff. And he's actually had like a positive experience with it. So maybe it'll be a good thing. So we can, if you're watching now somehow and you're not sub to Troubling, but you're sub to me, definitely slip in, hit your boy with a link, or
Mm-hmm.
hit your boy with a sub. Here's the link. So let's see. Let's watch a little bit of this before we get into the fucking PDF reading.
Yeah, I think Troubling before you start. I think Troubling says that he said that I believe Sunday night, Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night he's going to have shows now.
Oh, dude, he's that full time lad. That's what's up.
Yeah.
What's up? So okay, so we'll see where this starts off at.
Work. So I don't know. You could look into it if you wanted, but it's. I watched him on a different live stream recently. I don't know if I guess AMJM, and I don't know. He kind of seems like he actually wants to like learn things. I'm trying not to be mean, but a lot of flat earthers like they only seem like they're actually engaging with conversation.
Oh, I just realized you're not even going to be able to hear it, Jim. Fuck, because I don't have the stuff set up correctly.
Well, I see you did link it, so that's a good thing there.
I did do that. So yeah, maybe we'll just move on.
Yeah, if somebody's, when somebody watches this, they'll see that link and they can go right to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get that fixed soon, man, as soon as possible. And then we can watch shit better. Actually, I could just resize
Mm-hmm.
the thing if we already have it queued. Do I go and do it just to watch one video?
Yeah, Troubling's going 4 nights a week. My goodness.
You want to see him crush? Let me ask him.
Yeah, if we don't see it, whatever. But if we do see it, I'm gonna go find out who Delcros is because I don't recognize that name.
Yeah, same. All right, so we'll just head off the PDF, I guess.
Mhm.
All right, so continuing where we left off, we have Arthur Eddington here, who writes a letter to a Swedish, Swedish mathematician named Herman Well on December 16, 1918, and this is approximately 6 months before um, his eclipse observations that he says proves relativity theory. So in this letter, he writes, "One reason for my interest in your paper is that it seems to me to reopen the whole question for displacement of the Fraunhofer lines, leaving the theoretical prediction unsettled. Perhaps you will differ from me as to this. Charles St. John and John Evershade seem to be quite decided that the experimental evidence is against the deflection, and that is a rather severe blow to those of us who are attached by relativity theory. I venture to think that your theory may show a way out of this difficulty, but that is a guess." Quote from Arthur Eddington, man who is dearly devoted to pretending
Yes.
that his 2 photographic plates for sure proved uh, Einstein's theory of general relativity, and thus giving the physicality to space-time that is required to attribute all subsequent proofs of it as being real and being capable of facilitating an energy exchange. So we're gonna get no. So anyway, a little bit down in the rest of this paper, a reference is made to these guys, John Ehrman and Clark Gilmore, who wrote a paper about these observations and goes into great detail about the relevance of it and the opinions of the what do you call them, astronomers and physicists at the time, and just get a nice collective on it, because we don't often hear about the failures of relativity theory. We only hear about the successes. And for those of you who don't know the importance of what this observation would have provided, it would have provided the physical mechanism for an energy exchange for things like gravitational redshift, for things like altering the orbital path of something on a geodesic, right? So because they say that orbital paths in general relativity are geodesics, which are just straight lines, but the curvature of space-time is what's facilitating the illusion that we see, here on Earth, like, so that's kind of how they have it modeled out, and none of that can work unless space-time is a physical substance. Now, you'll often hear people give blank or broad explanations where they'll say space-time is the fabric of reality itself. Space-time is the fabric of the universe. Space-time is the fabric. Space-time is the bending and warping of the thing. Well, what's bending and warping? Well, space-time itself. Obviously, that's a retarded explanation and very circular. And why don't people have a more base understanding of the fundamental thing that they believe in? And it's because it's built on lies and fundamental circular reasoning, and the subsequent proof that is presented to them for them to believe in it requires space-time to be a physical medium. So they're just like, so from their perspective, they're just like, space-time's the fabric of the universe. They show the bowling ball thing. We've all seen this. Everyone's seen this. Gravity well. Um, what's it called? show up? What should be the first thing? Right, this right here. We've all seen the I always tell people the number 7 shows the bend in space-time. And exactly. So what we have here is your standard space-time observation or demonstration where somebody will have a trampoline or a cloth and they'll have it stretched out. They'll often be the malleable young minds of students standing in a circle around, holding it very ritualistically, keeping the tension of the fabric of space-time, holding it together as the teacher who they look up to and value that guy's input because he's teaching them what he's learned and went to school and taught, and he's going to pass this knowledge on to them. So they're all very they're all super into it anyway. So they throw the thing into the material and the fabric bends and they go, that's how space-time curvature is, and they'll drop another ball in and that ball will ride along the curvature. And then conceptually you're like, oh, okay, so this thing is it's space-time curvature, right? Like it's a oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. It's space-time curvature is the curvature of the thing, So hold on, I think my webcam turned off here. My phone die? 1 second, Jim. Technical difficulties. Okay. There we go. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Not sure how long my cam was out, but hopefully tilted. I hate that it has no. Okay. Let me get some water real quick. All right, so everyone begins to conceptually understand that there's a fabric out there that bends and warps, and this fabric is the fabric of the universe. What's bending and warping, Jim? The fabric of the universe, right?
Well,
that's what they say. That's how they say it.
Yeah. The bending and warping is space-time, curvature, whatever you want to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what we're gonna learn about here is a lesser-known, finer detail of that, right? So, to get into specifics real quick, just for the sake of me explaining it out loud, so I can get better at explaining it. To explain the Doppler effect and classical wave mechanics, you have a background medium of air and water vapor, right? And you have this car that's playing and its horn's going off. So it's causing an excitation in the background medium, right? That wave is propagating through the air molecules and the water molecules. And because the car is also coming towards you, there's a compression, or those waves are compressing. There's more oscillation happening quickly in a closer proximity, right? It's all coming at you quicker, right? So you hear that high pitch, and that's all facilitated by the energy exchange of the medium, because without the air and without the water, sound can't propagate through anything, right? Because it's a wave. So the propagation of it and the thing that produces a high pitch, a red shift, a blue shift, right, is facilitated by that compression and vibration within the medium, right? So as the car passes you and gets away from you, there's less compression. There's the medium is being less agitated. It's being less vibrated, as it's getting away from you. There's more distance in between the waves. So that's when you get the low pitch. So to explain the importance of that again, the medium is what it's all about, right? The energy exchange that's happening, right? The molecules are vibrating faster and more frequently, and this is determining the high pitch because the wave is hitting them it's more frequently. So it's that's how it's good. That's how you're hearing it at a different frequency, right? At a different at the high frequency, and then when there's less vibration, it's at the low frequency, right? So that's important because Arthur Eddington's job or role in relativity theory was he was going to take starlight displacement observations during an eclipse. So he was going to look at an eclipse, see stars behind it, take before and after pictures, and he was going to see if when the sun went by, if the sun's gravitational field caused the stars to move. Okay, now he took pictures, and he took 32 pictures to be specific. All of them were scrapped. Well, he took 16 and his boy took 16. Anyway, all of them got scrapped except for 2 of Eddington's pictures. And after mathematical corrections were applied, he extrapolated that they gave a displacement in accordance with Einstein's theory. And this was like the hands down slam dunk for general relativity. And he goes on to present this information at the Royal Astronomical Society and Royal Society meeting, presenting his observations as proof, as tangible proof, while he knows damn well, 6 months prior that there had been redshift observations being done by the world's leading experts at the time, this Charles St. John and John Evershade. 2 back-to-back Johns really fucks with me. So anyway, it's John, St. John, and then John Anyway, Johnson & Johnson, those guys or whatever. Are you familiar with those guys, Jim?
With Johnson & Johnson, we won't get into that.
Yeah. So anyway, these 2 guys were the world-renowned solar observation spectroscopy experts at the time. So anyway, general relativity was consistently failing something that it was super important to it, because if we go back to, so check this out, how fucking fraudulent is this shit? When Albert Einstein published, okay, let's just read this is from the American Physics Society or something, I forget what APS is, but this is this month in physics. When Albert Einstein published his general theory of relativity in 1915, he proposed 3 critical tests, insisting in a letter to the Times of London that if any one of these three were to be proved wrong, the whole of his theory would collapse. The advance of the perihelion of Mercury, the deflection of light rays by gravitational field, and gravitational redshift. If any one of these 3 is right, any one of them, why these 3 specifically, right? Because if there's a deflection, then that means there's curvature of a medium that the geodesic of the light is traveling on, right? If there's curvature, that means that the gravitational field is affecting the geodesic path of Mercury such that when it's orbiting the sun, you get this little wobble, this little axial tilt, right? When you see starlight displacement, when you see gravitational lensing effects, okay, and you can use spectroscopy to analyze the light spectra to determine the effect that the effect that space-time curvature had on the light to cause gravitational redshift, right? Because it's facilitating within the medium. So the air and water molecules facilitating all of that for the sound wave. Space-time now has to do that. It can't just be a mathematical prediction, right? Because the perihelion precession of Mercury was already something that was accounted for. That was already something that was observed. So explaining it mathematically is just a proposition. It's just saying, hey, using this formula and imposing these conditions on a material substance that I'm claiming is, nothing, and the curvature thereof, I can explain this. So everyone's like, okay, cool. Well, that's cool story, bro, right? So in order for that to have physical meaning to it, for that to carry weight, for anyone to give a single fuck, there would have to be another, more pronounced effects, right? So you would have to have gravitational displacement of light, right? You would have to have that displacement due to the gravitational field, like that space-time curvature is going to also alter the path of light. It's not just going to alter the path of a material object. And then if it alters the path of light, guess what else it's going to do, my dudes? It's going to cause redshift, right? It's going to facilitate a Doppler effect. And I'll be right back. I have to go to the bathroom, take a short break. We've been live for about an hour, but I'll be right back. I had a bunch to drink before we started, and then
There you go.
but yeah, I'll be right back. You want to keep them warm for me?
No, I'll take a little 3 minute as well. No problem.
Okay, cool. We'll be back in a few.
Okay.
I'll turn the cams on in a sec. Just gotta stop coughing.
I have this guy in Discord wants to have a discussion on gravity, and he keeps telling me, "Well, what causes things to fall to the ground? 9.81. I mean, how did we come up with 9.81?" It's like it's agreed upon average of why things fall to the ground. Some things go 9.77, some go 9.83. Depends, maybe thunderstorms, whatever. He goes, "Well, how they come up with 9.81?" I said, "That's what it is. So how they came up with it, I don't care. I care about the cause." But I don't care about the effect, which is 9.81 meters per second squared, because it is, no matter what you believe it is the cause, it's 9.81 meters per second squared. Now, the cause is not your gravity. The cause is something else. And we'll get into that some other time, which this weekend seems to be the time we're going to talk about it because he lives in Australia. Nobody asked me or has asked me, why don't things fall to the ground at 9 meters per second squared or 10.5 meters per second squared? Nobody asked me that question. And so when somebody says why, they're just being a pain in the rear end. Yep. Can you imagine going to Ohio State Physics Department? Can you imagine going to Ohio State Physics Department, astrophysics or astronomy, and some graduate student come up to you and go, "I knew things fall at 9.81 meters squared." Shut up. Proves the globe. Proves the ball. Proves the ball. He did. He was nice because he thought I was going to be another. He 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 thought I was going to be a Nathan Oakley, personality. And then he told me afterwards. He said, "No, you're not Nathan Oakley. Thanks." And then I said, I kind of did, maybe intellectually go after you. And he goes, "Well, I can't. I'll give you that one." Yeah. And we've been real nice to each other since then. So I think we both have a peace treaty right now. I see. Yeah, ceasefire peace treaty. That's funny. Uh,
Oh, I have my mic muted since I came back. I'm fully retarded. Okay. All right. So where do we leave off here? Oh yeah. If any one of these things were to be proven false, general relativity would quote from Einstein here. Let me make sure I'm reading this correctly. If any one of these three were to be proved wrong, the whole theory would collapse. So, Jim, my reading comprehension isn't the best, and sometimes I need some assistance. So he says here that there's three things on this list of three things that will invalidate his entire general theory of relativity brackets GR proposed in 1915. Is that what now are these what does that mean exactly for these three things on the list if they were to be falsified or shown to be, not consistent with the theory?
if my understanding is correct, the advance of the perihelion precession of Mercury, which Verrier, Verrier, advanced in 1846, which Newton, I mean not Newton, Einstein just copied. He reverse engineered, he copied, stole it, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And so if you get rid of this advance of the perihelion precession of Mercury, which is an arc seconds, which goes over a whole century, then it's basically destroyed, which is now hard to destroy that because the movement is so little and you're over 100 years, and who knows who's measuring it 100 years later. But you're getting into 5,600 arc seconds versus 5,557 arc seconds difference between what's actually observed and what Newton and Einstein basically saw. That's just ridiculous. And then you go to point number 2, deflection of light by gravitational field. I mean, let's destroy gravity. If you destroy gravity, you destroy the gravitational field. And obviously, if you destroy gravity, you destroy the gravitational redshift or cosmological redshift of the expanding universe. That Hubble talked about in 1925. So obviously, that number 2 and 3, you destroy gravity, you destroy those two. So Einstein, if one of my 3 central proofs were to be wrong, my entire theory would collapse. So you destroy gravity, 2 and 3 go bye-bye, and then all you have to concentrate on is the perihelion precession of Mercury, which is crazy because how anybody measured that over 100 years is nuts.
Wow, Jim, well said. You're doing great. Doing great.
I've listened to you.
Dude, you sound well trained, my son.
My son. As I said before we went on camera, I'm about twice as old as you are.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's what's up, dude. Fucking, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm thinking you could not necessarily with a professor, in an accredited or credentialed professor, but with somebody on Discord or below, McToon or those guys, you could take this into your debate and blow this out the door, and that's all you got to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, dog, this is pretty bad for them because there's no refutation to this. Because you can explain literally every single experiment done with light. So we're talking Pound Rebka, Pound Snyder, Ives Stillwell. Hold on, I have a whole list here. Let's just read the list for fun because reading lists is dope. Let me pull up the list here.
Alan, if you take these 3 things, you take time dilation, Pound Rebka, Pound Snyder, Halfley Keating, you take that, and then you throw Michelson Morley, our names, Michelson Morley onto that, and you concentrate just on that, party's over.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look here for all the light experiments. So if we take away what Eddington said, if we take away the fraudulence that Eddington put forward as proof, right?
That's really a good list right there.
Yeah, so my boy Canadian Bacon just dropped in the chat a little bit of gravy. He says, it is said in the older books that the measurements of Mercury observations were not accurate because it's hard to see when it is near the sun. Yeah, I mean, keep in mind we're talking 1846, I think it was, when Irving.
1846 was Verrier, yeah, Berrier.
Yeah, so we're talking fucking low ability, low technology in terms of how to increase the accuracy of that. And again, these measurements were done not even in arc seconds. We're talking fractions of arc seconds that he extrapolated over 40 years that mathematically he projected out to a century would add up to about a degree and a half. Or maybe it was a degree and a quarter. I can't quite remember. But we're talking like the finest measurements you could ever fucking imagine to make. So pretty crazy. Let me just wrap this up real quick and we'll get to, I think Canadian Bacon is this Canadian Bacon on Discord? I'm looking, okay, yeah. So Canadian Bacon, we'll get to the thing you wanted to talk about here in a second. Thanks for showing up, man. Sorry for being late. I had to delay as much as possible because of pre-stream jitters and stuff like that. So you know how it is. You know how it is. So anyway, I got your thing downloaded. Let me download it again just for, I think I moved it actually. So we'll look at this whenever you're ready. If you want to hop on Discord and talk about what's up, or if you want to just type it in chat. I think you said you wanted me to look at page 20 thrice. So we have figure of the Earth, geographic or geodetic latitude. See the spherical note on the metric latitude, parametric latitude, the flat. Geocentric distance in units of Earth, equatorial radius. So yeah, you said you wanted to know what the flat is. I typically do. What is that? Can I the button to hit the thing? Oh, one sec. Send me a link. Okay, one sec. I'm gonna send him a link, Jim. Copy. God damn. Sorry, I apologize for coughing into the mic profusely. Yo, what up, Canadian? Oh wait, does he need permission to talk? Is there? I forget how this works.
Hey now.
Nope, you're good. My man, what's going on?
Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, no
Hey,
problem, dog.
There's so much stuff in this book, man. It's kind of gonna need a series really all on its own. It's so
Really?
massive.
So give me an introduction to what this is exactly. What we're looking at here.
So yeah, if you want to go to the first couple pages there, it's explanatory supplement to the Astronomical Ephemeris and American Ephemeris and Nautical Almanac.
Okay, so explanatory supplement to the Astronomical Ephemeris and the American Ephemeris and So what this is saying, this is alternate explanations or like a further understanding of how these are derived.
Okay, so yeah,
Or
celestial
corrections?
navigation. Celestial navigation. You use a book, the Nautical Almanac, and the numbers in it are derived from observation, and those observations and the mathematics behind it are put in this book kind of as a supplement to the Nautical Almanac. So it's just telling you how they got the numbers, basically, and it's the math behind it. The math behind the Nautical Almanac that sailors.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. So everything.
Pilots use.
So these books that already have the corrections and everything accounted for their spherical coordinate system. This is where they derived it from. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Perfect,
So
my man. Where did you find this fucking beast at? This is a massive document here.
So I've been kind of on the truth path here for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is where it's led me, is to this book, and just, realizing that the maps and the math and everything that they've given us has all been a construct. So it's all in this book. It just kind of shows you the baseline and the base of everything. So I've put a couple notes in, like As you can see, I've highlighted some stuff.
Yeah, dude, that
And
is awesome.
the beginning of it is where it tells you that their model is based on a geocentric model. So geocentrism is alive and well in these books. And that's the biggest tell right there is, okay, they have to use a stationary plane with a spherical sky and the stars moving around them. They're fixed position and the sky is turning around them. So
Dude, this is incredible.
Who
And you-
who put this out? Who did this?
so
Who
this was
You found
all
this?
done. So 1776 is when the queen or king sent out somebody from Cambridge, a mathematician, and somebody that knew navigation, and they made this book, the Nautical Almanac, and so it's taken hundreds and hundreds of years for them to come out with an explanatory supplement to that almanac, and they released it in the last 100 years. A few times, but they've come together. This one is specifically where they've come together and they've said, okay, we're going to go off of the Greenwich Mean Time. So that was like a political venture, and it describes it in this book how it's come to be. And it says right on the first page, Her Majesty's Stationery Office, London. But this is an American book.
Her stationary office, huh? You know
So,
what I'm saying, dog? That's hilarious.
So are we looking at
That's
19?
awesome.
Are we looking at 1961?
Yep, this is 1961.
Cool.
Wow.
And
Now,
so it's pretty recent. It's pretty recent,
yeah,
and this is kind of still relevant. It's not like, oh, that's really old. It doesn't mean anything. We've changed things.
Wow.
Is this looking at the sky and the ground both?
So yeah, it's gonna
It
be
kind of seems to
like
be. Yeah.
you have to read the whole thing, and they do mention the circumference. So they
Cool.
keep things really really vague and whatnot in relation to that, and the math. They describe it as not. I should just find the page.
How long is this book?
600 pages.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a
500.
beast.
Yeah.
We're about to read a lot of it, dog. This is awesome. So you found this yourself, or like how did you come
Yeah,
across
I
this
just been
behemoth?
like I
That's
said,
awesome.
I've been on the truth path for a year and a half, and this is kind of where it's led me.
Dude, this is quite a find. Have you heard of Jeranism and stuff? Or I think you mentioned that
Oh
you.
yeah.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
you got to go on Thursday and talk about this, bro.
Yeah, actually,
I'm
I did already
when?
on one of it. That was a few weeks ago.
No shit, dude. It must, dude. I watched like almost all of them, but there's a few I missed, and I bet you that was one I missed, dog. Because this is gravy. This is gravy, dude. This is what they derived everything from. So when people were asking them like, so how'd you figure all this shit out to make these almanacs? This is their response video.
This is
So
the response video right
to
here. This
speak.
is it.
Dude, that's hilarious, bro. Wow.
And the
Okay,
fact that
well,
they
dude,
mentioned geocentrism, perfect.
on behalf of the truth community and True Earth movement and stationary topographical plane, thanks for bringing this up, man. This is awesome. I'm gonna look into this and tell everyone about this because this is
Absolutely.
awesome. Gonna have a lot of fun looking into this. Did you get an invite to ADL? Did you get that?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, yeah, dog. You gotta fucking come on and talk about that tomorrow or something. Hit the boys up. If you see a bunch of us on tomorrow, hit us up, or I'll highlight you or something later in the night, and you can come deliver the gravy because this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Let's make an event of it, and we'll get as many people to listen. Come on.
How much have you uncovered so far? Or like, do you have anything conclusive or anything like that that you can like articulate or point out, or are you just kind of like scratching the surface?
So I have highlighted a lot of it, what I think is important. There's more that I'm highlighting as we go through it and as I keep reading and over again. Because I do. I just keep on reading it over and over again to make
Dude,
sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, that's how I always end up finding out that like I missed like crucial shit, and yeah, I find more stuff every time I do it.
Yeah, and like, so it does state that they don't present everything. That's the biggest thing I've taken away is they don't divulge all the. They said what's not really relevant. They're not going to put every single piece in there. You know what I mean? Like there's still pieces missing.
Right. So okay. So they're saying
so
this
that
isn't a complete manifestation of how they derived
well
everything.
exactly like that page 23 I was kind of asking you about.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
It shows you the flattening equation, and if you try and figure that out and like Google it and what's the flattening equation, it's nothing like the flattening equation on Google or anything that you're gonna find. So
oh, dude.
how do
Well,
you use that? You know what I mean? Like you have to find a mathematician that can go through this book, tell you exactly what it means, how they're using it. I mean, they give you the base of it. They give you what you need to know. Geocentrism. They don't use a lot of heliocentric stuff, and
On page 24, I just saw as you were flipping through that coordinate systems. Were they talking about coordinate systems specifically, Earth going around the sun or sun going around the Earth, or was it some other coordinate systems they were talking about?
geocentric, Sun, Earth.
so
Oh,
they
cool,
use like
cool.
a plane, right? That's
Yeah.
what they use. And then they have a spherical coordinate system, so they assume the sky is a sphere. But they're not going to tell you the distances, right? They don't care about the distances. So it doesn't, all that matters is that they use a plane surface, and yeah.
Very cool. And you found this where? Where'd you find this book at?
It was on an archive site. You can still get it. You can Google 1961 supplement.
Do you think this would be in any libraries or Amazon?
Yeah, you can get it. You can download it online. That's how I got it.
Yeah, I can send it to you, Jim. You want a copy?
Yes, please. And thank you for bringing this to, my attention, obviously. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Copy link. Send to Jim. There you go.
I would, some of that, some of the, I just noticed, page 24 coordinate systems is like, okay, I would love to, just get more information on that stuff.
So we got a potential explanation here. Let me know if this gives some contextual value. In the explanatory supplement to the Astronomical Almanac, published in 1961, the mention of the equation of a flattening symbol represented by the cursive letter lowercase f most likely refers to the parameter known as the flattening factor or ellipticity. In the context of celestial bodies such as planets or stars, the term flattening refers to their shape or being slightly flattened at the poles or bulging at the equator. This departure from the perfect sphere describes the flattening factor, which quantifies the amount of flattening or oblateness. The flattening factor is typically denoted by the F, which is defined as the difference between the equatorial and the polar radii of the celestial body divided by the equatorial radius. Mathematically, it can be expressed as F equals A minus B divided by A, where A represents the equatorial radius and B represents the polar radius. The flattening factor ranges from 0 for a perfect sphere to a positive radius for an oblate spheroid. If the cursive letter F might have been, if the cursive letter F might have been used to distinguish another symbol, and it says that at the bottom. So what do you think on that? Does that sound about what they're flattening out or what?
Yep. So again, you can look at the equation that they give you through that explanation, and then look at their equation, and does it match up? Does it make sense? And all the information that they give you in the book, are you able to use that equation? Are you able to understand it? That's
Well,
kind of what I'm getting at. Is
well,
like,
I would say that E, they already have something to account for the ellipticity or the eccentricity, unless they're saying So of the Earth's meridian. So they're saying the oblateness of the Earth, and then the flattening of the object that they're looking at, but doesn't.
Yeah, so I just don't have a good enough understanding of it.
Yeah, I'm
right
gonna
now.
send this to I Can Science that and see what he can come up with. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
just
send-
that
I'm gonna-
specific equation. I would like to see somebody use it. Somebody define it with the book, just the book, not leaving the book. That's about it. You know what I mean? Like, about it. As soon as you leave the book, then you're kind of, I don't know. It's not right. You should be able to just. This is the supplement. This is what they're giving you, so you should be able to
Right.
use this book.
Oh wait, here we go. So flattening. Okay, well we have the equation here.
I heard mathematical equations prove the ball. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minus the ellipsis squared.
I heard that if you have one penny, one physical penny, and you invoke a mathematical equation, that one penny mathematically becomes 99, even though you can't see it. That's what I heard.
Yep, math can make you do anything, really. Anything you want to do.
Math. I want to go to Alpha Centauri, and I want to do it for less than $3,000, and I want to get there in less than 4 years.
Okay, so yeah, they're referring to the oblateness of the celestial body in this context, yeah. Where I seems to be okay, I and E are okay, hold on, let me just write out the whole thing. This will take a minute. I'm gonna write out the whole fucking thing and we're gonna get this banged out. Fuck it. I don't give a shit anymore. Give me a sec. I'm super into this now.
Well, I got 547 pages to read now. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just want to say on introduction, page 13, it says it is necessary preliminary. It is a necessary preliminary to the main purpose to define frames of reference and systems of coordinates with some care. In doing so, to the textbook approach has been deliberately avoided. All elementary definitions and proofs have in general been omitted. An attempt has been made to combine complete rigor of treatment with practical requirements, giving the errors all approximate procedures, but no attempt has been made to be comprehensive.
So they're just giving you that broad overview, and if you can't figure it out, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly
Well,
it.
guess what?
Let's just
Challenge accepted, my dude.
let's just leave a few holes here and there, see if they can figure it out.
Yeah, well, it's about to get figured.
I just like how they throw in stuff like on page 11, they'll go, the ephemeroids are calculated in accordance with the Newtonian law of gravitation, modified by the theory of general relativity. Just believe me, right? Like, you're just gonna have
What
to
does it
believe
say?
me on
What does
that.
it say?
The ephemeroids, so this book, or the numbers calculated, are in accordance with the Newtonian law of gravitation, modified by the theory of general relativity. The values of the adopted constants are given partly in section 6 and partly in section 4, because they'll never give you the full. Anyways, under the individual body concern, most are collected together in section 18.
Oh, hell yeah. What page was that on? I'm sorry to ask that again. What
Page 11.
Page 11. Okay, let me write that down.
Third paragraph. Or, yeah.
Okay, and then...
So it looks like chapter 11 is real interesting. You got the sun, you got the moon, you got rotation of the planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, all things that are a fairy tale. Sounds good to me, man.
And they have things in here like the different models that they use. So like the planar sphere model, right?
Yeah,
And all the planar is that trigonometry is a sphere that the part you're working on is so small that it's basically flat. That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah,
But in theory, they're just working on something that's flat.
yeah, we hear it's a ball, but it's so big that you only see flat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the chapter 12. Satellites of Mars, satellites of Jupiter, rings and satellites of Saturn, satellites of Uranus, satellites of Neptune. I like this, man. This book's gonna be good. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's about to get real spherically oblate, dog.
Hey, I like oscillating spheroid. Yes.
So
You can keep your oblate spheroid. I want my oscillating spheroid.
one of the things I hear all the time is, well, no, not all the time, but an argument is that, you know, the reason why people don't believe, or the reason why people believe in a ball Earth is because of consensus. Like, there's way more people
Don't care.
that just believe it together, right? So it's consensus. But I mean, how many people have read this book? You know,
Exactly.
are they all, you know, are they all going through this and be like, yeah, we all have the same consensus? But if you read through it and you find stuff like on page 41, it says just in case like a layman read this book, they throw stuff in there like, in the complicated theory of gravitational action of the sun and moon rotating on a non-spherical Earth. And then you go, what? Wait a minute.
Like
What?
what'd you say again? Can you repeat that?
Page 41. In the complicated theory of the gravitational action of the sun and moon on the rotating non-spherical Earth, other terms arise which depend on the mean longitudes and mean anomalies of the sun and moon and other combinations of longitude and the moon's node. It's just they're working on a geocentric model and a non-spherical Earth. I don't know. If they're all in consensus with each other, shouldn't they be flat earthers by now? On this book, at least.
You'd think.
Just read this book. There's a lot of flattening, geocentrism, Earth not moving.
Oh, okay. Got it. Sorry, just had a momentary moment, you know. Shit. Work on E. Copy. Oh wow, what you could cut. Oh my god, I quit.
You're really breaking this down, aren't you?
Yeah, I forgot. You could just copy the whole fucking thing in. Literally retarded. Sorry.
Does this 547-page book get into geodetic surveying? I didn't look through the glossary.
It does have a geodetic horizon, I think.
Oh, dog. Whoa.
I'm not too sure. I gotta remember where I seen that.
F
Does-
represents the flattening factor of the Earth. Is what
Does-
is how this was
well,
interpreted.
That's what they say. That's what they say. So does this book get into the 1895 to 1914
Hold on, wait.
Treasury Department paid for geodetic surveys?
Oh, this is that chat bot. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's when you ask the bot about refraction, it gets to a point where it can't quite compute because it gives you a value of 50% for the maximum amount for refraction. So at the distances they give you, it can only add 50%.
Oh, it doesn't fucking lie or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't lie.
It doesn't try and shit on you. Nice. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we should just debate the bot. Watch it implode.
Dude, I've had so many debates with this thing where I just absolutely body bag it, and then it'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right," but relativity theory is still super, legit. Anyway, yeah, that shit's funny. So let me see if I can get this to reinterpret that correctly. Thank you for the clarification. Based on the information, here's the summary. Tell me more about the flattening. Nope, it didn't. Right, hold on. I have the thing fucked up. Let me slightly correct it. Need that phi.
I thought it was kind of weird how in 1961, U.S. being a superpower would bow to England and say, "Okay, we'll take your mean time as 0."
Dude, yeah, they all in unison were like, we're definitely not cooperating together. By the way, here's this new spherical coordinate system.
Yeah, and nobody says
That's
God save the king. Nobody says God save the king more than Biden. You know that, right?
Does he really?
You can look at that up if fact check me.
That's hilarious. Okay, there we go.
Well, you can make an argument that the center of power in the world is London. So you can't, you can make that claim. I mean, you can probably go other places, but London is where a lot of stuff comes from.
Okay, okay, so that might not be flattening of the Earth. Give me a couple minutes. I gotta rearrange this to make it coherent because the copy paste is slightly fucked up on it. Go get it.
So Canadian bacon, Alan AM looks great on camera, doesn't he?
Easy, Jim.
Hey, we're gonna get AM to the White House someday, and he's gonna be in the Rose Garden. He's gonna talk about relativity.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's what we're gonna do. He's gonna have a quarter of the world listening to him at one time. 2 billion people.
I don't think I could handle the pressure, man. I
couldn't either, dog. I get super nervous.
Implode.
Oh, come on.
I get super nervous. I'm getting better at it, Jim. That's how I've been doing it.
But I think if you're standing on truth, you got nothing to fear.
There you go.
You know
on
what?
truth.
You know what? That's a really great quote, man. My buddy Chris Pastor said that to me before I was giving my second presentation that I was doing in front of people, of my relativity thing. And then I always get like pre-show flutters and I'm nervous. And he said you got nothing to be worried about, man. You're telling the truth. It's not like you have to go up there and remember a bunch of lies. And
That's right.
that just like profound statement just kind of stuck with me because it's like I'm not going up here fucking bullshitting. Like they literally made everything up and then kind of told everyone about it, but kind of don't talk about it. And it's just is what it is, as they say.
Yeah, so when you're in the rose garden in a year or two and you're talking to 250 people, but 2 billion are listening to you, just pretend like you're talking to 250 and not 2 billion, and you'll be just fine.
Oh, okay.
No problem. Piece of cake. Slam dunk.
Easy.
Too easy. Too easy.
Easy. How can I make that app? Astronomy.
So under apparent places on page 149,
Frequency.
it says the apparent place of a star is the geocentric position.
Apparently, huh? As they say in fucking fairy tale land.
Yeah.
Wait, why did?
Fairy tale land. I usually just say fairy tale. Now I gotta start using fairy tale land. I like that. Fairy tale. Hey, is that one word or two words?
Why is it not
Fairy
giving
tale.
me the cool one?
Because you could make fairy tale land into one word if you wanted to. I like that. We'll have to make a meme of that tomorrow. We'll call it fairy tale land.
Nice, got him. All right. Okay, 10, 5, 10, 5. Meridian, very nice. Lightning. Tiny fucked up F. Say a little F. Yes, little fucked up F equals. Little baby 1/2. We do the
Trying to see with my old eyes what you're working on there. I got the geocentric latitude, and then over here. Oh, I saw a fraction calculator.
Oh, I was trying to pull up the little baby fraction thing. There's a keyboard command you can hit, like Windows period or something, and it'll pull up a little thing that has all these fucking things available, but I can't remember the combination to hit it suddenly, or it's just not working. So I was trying to look it up so I could get it specifically.
I like geocentric dimension in units of the Earth's equator radius. I like that.
At Python,
I think if you learn that, you pretty much got it down.
pretty much in the bag from there.
Can you imagine going up to Glober and go, let's talk about the geocentric distance in units of the Earth's, equator radius, and they'll be going, okay, you win.
Other
Oh my goodness. This guy's still bothering me about 9.81 meters second squared. Why does it fall to the ground like that? So I really don't care.
dude
All I
needs you
care
to
about,
replace his daddy.
yeah, all I care
Stupid
is
ass
about your
argument.
Yeah, all I
Tell
care
me my
about is
new daddy.
yeah. All I care about is wiping away his little gravity fairy tale. Excuse me, gravity fairy tale land. I got land now. I got to throw that in there. And then there's another guy who keeps showing me a Cavendish cage or Cavendish experiment. It's like, well, this proves gravity. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Where's section 2F and 9B at? Do you know where that's at on this document?
Oh, I don't know.
Should be right
Maybe
at the
those
top.
can.
Okay. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 1F is introduction. Be on page. What's way down here?
There he is again.
2E, almost there.
Oh,
2F,
here.
page 57.
7. Oh, okay. 2F. For your coordinate system and reference parallax. Introduction with positions with the sun. Let's see. Equations. So flattening, exact, radius, coordinate. Okay. Let's see what the where's the differences? Yeah, I can't make sense of any of this shit. This is a little over me. Let me see what we get when we enter this in now. So
F equals 1-298.25. And A equals 6,000.
oh wait, where did you see that at? What part?
It's on the bottom of the page. From 1968. B equals A equals F equals.
Oh, no shit. Interesting.
And I think that's 6 million meters, not 6,000.
Oh, you mean like 6,356,700 and yeah, I could see how you could see it that way. I think A is 6,300,000.
78,160. And then B
Yeah.
is 6,356,775.
Yeah, man. Okay, so hold on. I'll keep this on the back burner real quick. We'll see what we can get out of this. All right, so phi represents the geodetic latitude or the angle of measurement from the equatorial plane of the point of on Earth's surface. Phi prime represents the geocentric latitude of the angle between the equatorial plane and joining the Earth's center point on the surface. The tangent or tan phi prime equals I minus E squared. Tan phi is an equation relating to the geocentric latitude phi pi or phi pi phi prime to the geographic latitude of phi in the ellipticity E of Earth's meridian This states that the tangent of the geocentric latitude is equal to the product of the tangent of the geographic latitude and the factor I minus e squared, where I represents the spherical radius of the Earth, and phi, phi subscript 1 represents the parametric latitude, which is another way of expressing the relationship between the geographic and the geocentric latitudes. And phi subscript 1 equals, fuck, 1 minus the fucked up f, or the cursive f, and phi. This equation is relating to the parametric latitude phi subscript 1 to the geographic latitude phi and the flattening of the and the flattening of the Earth. Interesting. And this states that the tangent of the parametric latitude is equal to the product of the tangent of the geometric latitude and the factor of I minus f, where I represents the spherical Earth radius. Did I just read that they're flattening the sphericity of the Earth based on the coordinate system of the latitude?
Well, there's a lot of flattening going on. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of flattening going on.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we'll keep reading and come back to it. E represents the ellipticity or the incissity of the meridian, and this is a measurement of the Earth's, it is a measure of the departure from the Earth's shape of a perfect sphere. Oh, okay, gotcha. F represents the flattening factor, which quantifies the oblateness or departure of the perfect sphere. See, I was wondering why they were flattening those the lights in the sky, because I don't see how that would be necessary to do, because don't they just kind of look like little flashing orbs? I mean, how they take the observations, don't they just line it up to the center of the mass of it? You know, like they're not necessarily concerned with the oblateness and sphericity. More like when they get into those finer details, it seems to be when they're trying to calculate the weight of it, so that they can get things like radius and gravitational effects, so they can get the gravitational field and curvature on when they're talking about oblateness. So yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, they're literally flattening here they're describing a coordinate system that describes the Earth as a sphere, and then they have the radius, spherical radius. So yeah, so they give it this spherical coordinate system, and then they flatten it out. They flatten out the radius of it based on where you're at in their hypothetical coordinate system. It's kind of what I'm getting from this. Anyway, P represents the geocentric distance, which is the distance from the center of the Earth. But yeah, obviously they assume the center of the Earth is a sphere, so you know how they do their pretend calculations. But that's only to derive the hypothetical coordinate system, right? They obviously they don't know the exact center of the sphere and all that shit. So this is all just mathematical jibber jabber, so that they can keep it all solvable, right? Because if they try and get all specific, it's going to get way more complex. So this is just like a rough generalization of how they present the lie. I think this might be really fucking huge, how this is describing what's going on, if my interpretation is correct. And anyway, C or S and C are the auxiliary functions used in calculations. They define that P sin phi prime equals sin pi to b. These functions are related to the trigonometric values that are trigonomic values of the latitudes and the geocentric distance. These equations and definitions are commonly used in geodesy, geodetic calculations to model the Earth's shape, position on its surface, and they provide a mathematical framework for converting between different types of latitude and accounting for the oblateness or departure from the perfect sphere. So if you do that in reverse, it's just how they derive the spherical coordinate system based on where they say the equator is relative to the North Pole in the center. If you look at the Earth as if it were azimuthal equidistant map, you know, like your boy Gleason's.
Right. They give a good example of that on page 217.
Man, this is deep, dog. I'm so glad you fucking linked this to me. When you linked it to me the other night, I downloaded it, pulled it up, and was like, oh, 500 pages, bro. Like, then I just kind of forgot about it. And then I remembered earlier, so I hit you up, and I'm so glad I did, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's quite the book for sure.
This is nuts, dog. So at any point to derive their spherical coordinate system, they can just say, well, there's oblateness. It's an oblate spheroid. Oblate. Ah, dude. That's awesome, bro. It's oblate.
Yeah, check out page 217.
Oh, yeah. So let's check out. So you said 217. See what we got here. We got ellipses, and transies. Projection to 0. Yeah, the center of the sphere, right? I draw bottom of the ball. You know, I completely agree with this right here, what you said. Because have you ever heard of the celestial sphere model that they say used to be how the ancient civilizations navigated? They assumed like the top spherical half of a hemiplane, and they but they model it out as if it's like a complete sphere encompassing the Earth, is how they tell us. But in actuality, what they would have really described, since they're not retarded or trying to trick people, they would have just described it as a plane with a dome over it. You know, they would have believed in a hemiplane, but they've go with this whole celestial sphere situation is how they teach it to people. Are you familiar with that or no?
Yeah, well, when you break down celestial sphere, what does that mean? It just means celestial means sky, and sphere means, yeah, what it is. That's half a sphere.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't have to be you can say it's spherical and not have a full ball.
Yep.
It doesn't even matter how far the stars are away either. It could, it really doesn't matter. Because you're just working off of a flat surface.
Yeah. So in the celestial sphere model, they assume that all the stars were on the same plane and that they were really close. Exactly what you just said. Yeah, totally. The distance, like all this stuff where they're like, oh, we measured the parallax angle and we deduced the parsecs to get the distance, like all that. Nobody gives a fuck. Doesn't matter at all. Doesn't change anything. The only thing that actually matters is assuming that they're all on the same plane, because when you look at a time lapse, there's no intersection of the of their orbits or orbital path. So it's without a doubt they're all on the same plane, because it would be impossible to get a consistent star trail without that. So that's pretty good evidence there. And
I was just watching Flat Earth Dave show a guy. He had his camera at night flying a plane, and it's really good video quality of what's happening in the sky, and it doesn't match what their Google Earth model looks like at all, where the stars are coming up over you in Google Earth.
That's such a good one. Have you ever seen the one that Iru did? I haven't. I should ask him for that one. He did this presentation where they fly from like wherever the fuck to wherever the fuck, but like basically going from, across the equator on the glob, and the stars would have definitely changed how they were appearing in the to the cockpit. And the pilot filmed the whole thing, and they maintained it maintains the same perspective the entire time, when at some point he would have been coming around the glob, and from his perspective they would have started coming up instead of going below or whatever, or vice versa. I can't remember off the top of my head, but whatever it was inconsistent with the globular nature of going upside down at a certain point, or
Yep,
coming up from
exactly.
being right side up. Yeah, it was yeah, totally. And the distances don't matter at all. They assume they were close. Doesn't matter how close. It's just where you're at on the system. And yeah, so they just made this spherical coordinate system that they can flatten out at any point to mathematically derive the corrections necessary to publish in an almanac to make people think they live on a fucking globe. That's it.
Yep. That's it.
Man, what an awesome evidence. Dude, you have to do a presentation on this, bro. Since you've read this, you've read more of this than I have, and you'll be able to explain and get to this way better. And I can help you with the chat GBT stuff or whatever, and get the and extrapolate the information you need out of it to bang this out. But you should definitely present this on ADL, because this is insane. This is how, because you know what, dog? I was just looking into celestial navigation and stuff recently, and this exact sort of thing. And they have this thing called the traverse tables. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you got your traverse tables, and you got your almanac, your navigation almanac, and you got your whatever the fuck else they use. And all of these things have corrections on it so that they can use planar sailing, which basically means they can just use easy right angle triangles to plot out their courses. But this is all, and then they just reference the corrections for the spherical coordinate system, and they're like, everyone's like, therefore a glob, right? Therefore a glob. And I kind of, like, I knew that was happening, but I didn't know how to extract, or how they derive their corrections, because what I came to the conclusion is that what FED was saying about how the corrections could be derived from a centralized polar star. But like, basically, if let me pull up a Gleason's. I don't know if you're still watching the stream or have it up, but
Yep.
pull up a Gleason's here real quick for you. So if you had, a polar star right here in the center, and then as you got away from it, you could take elevation angles and build your spherical coordinate system or planar coordinate system, and get the corrections to make a spherical coordinate system. But first, obviously, it would all be derived from the planar angles, the elevation angles derived from the polar star in the center. But there's no real way they haven't, and this is no discredit to them, really. They haven't really shown how the corrections are made, right? They just provide the mechanism by which the deception was carried out, which is totally, this is totally exactly what they did. But to further have this ammunition where these corrections that they cling on to, this is the missing piece right here.
Yeah, right.
This is the missing piece, because they'll fall back on the corrections and they'll say, well, the Mercator map is a projection map of a sphere, and the right angle triangle stuff is direct. They get that using corrections from their spherically derived almanac. But as we see here from the equations that Canadian Bacon has pointed out, you can flatten any point of it to basically turn any point of the sphere or any point of this plane into a sphere and then describe that part as an oblate spheroid. So let's say hypothetically that this land, that there was like maybe a piece of land in between here, maybe some land here, hypothetically, maybe some land here, and you wanted to make a spherical coordinate system and also remove these areas or move some stuff around basically so that people that don't have free travel access or the ability to, like, I don't know, get in a giant airship and float around and see what's up, people that don't have access to that kind of stuff would rely on the spherical coordinate system and what was derived from it. So what you could do with that math equation that provides the corrections, you could take all planar elevation angles. You could say, oh, this is where it happens to be an oblate spheroid. You could derive an entire model of the spheroid based on what you would need to correct to make it match up somewhat decently with an with an equator where you're gonna start to not see the centralized pole star from, and then that's where you're gonna wrap around your ball, and then to shorten out the rest of this shit so that it's what's it called? Like a symmetrical sphere, so that the top half is symmetrical to the bottom half. Can't think of the word off the top of my head, but to get all that, you would have to get rid of all this. So you just cut all this shit out. You tell people this shit don't exist. The land over here that used to be here, the little piece right here, nope, that don't exist. What's actually happening is that there's extreme flatness happening at the poles due to the rotation of the Earth and the gravitational effects. So this is all flattened the fuck out according to equation, but check our corrections derived or that we provide in the almanac, and you'll find exactly that you're standing on a sphere that matches up with our coordinate system that we provided you with. And that land over here that you don't know about, well, you're never going to know about it because everything else that's derived from our oblate spheroid model that kind of loosely matches this close enough for people to travel within and is still kind of fucked up and requires certain corrections. And then especially when you go outside of the coordinate system at the 60th south parallel, where we're not allowed to go due to a really cool treaty that everyone got together and decided to make, where we couldn't falsify any of the claims, where the spherical system or the coordinate system derived from the stars and the corrections and all that would start to fall off past the 60th south parallel, where you could kind of compare what's going on. Similarly to how the equator has to be, the center of the ball, right? Has to equally divide the ball in half. Everything has to end right around here and then converge into what you see on Google Earth. When you go to Google Earth and pull up Antarctica, everything has got to start to circle back around there. So if it doesn't, you're going to start to see, contradictory things. So they all got this treaty together, and then on the face of the treaty, when you Google the Antarctic Treaty and read it from the UN directly, sorry to go on a diatribe, Chris, just working it all out in my head. Your name's not Chris, I'm sorry, Canadian Bacon. When you go and look it up on the EU's website for the Antarctic Treaty and stuff, you see this harmless document where all these countries got together for this beautiful noble cause to protect penguins and shit from pollution and air noise. And you're like, okay, cool, that all checks out. But then when you look at the subsequent legislation drafted in the respected countries that are adhere to the treaty, that's where you get into the gravy, where you're going to have to fill out all this paperwork and go meet with a committee, and then you can't, anybody can stop you from going, and this country has to give you the green light. And any one of these countries, like let's say this country's mad at this country, but everyone here is like, hey, you're good to go, you can travel. Well, these people, because they're part of the treaty, they can say no. It's just, you're not going. And if you look in the case of Jarl Anderhoy, that was actually exactly what was happening. Another country was denying him access to go to Antarctica. And when he was getting prosecuted and stuff, you can find in the court documentation where one of the prosecutors was saying that he was surprised that the Argentinian government was even going to allow him to go, and then some other government objected or something. Like, it's all, you're not going. And this is why, because everything from their almanac, and everything from their traverse tables that they use for their planar sailing on their Mercator map is all derived from corrections made off of a system where you can use this equation to turn planar observations into a 3-dimensional coordinate system. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah, and this book is the key. It just, I don't think I'm smart enough to figure it out on my own. I definitely need a lot of help.
Bro, you've done a bang up job already. Like what you identified is pretty much fucking just seeing that right off of the gate, like we're required an astute amount of attention to detail. And I commend you for that, sir, especially not being familiar with the equations and being able to decipher the importance of that. Like literally the first thing in the book that they show you is the equation they use to show you how you can oblate spheroid the entire fucking thing out of a plane and then just make it all work, or show people the corrections to the spherical coordinate system, and they can plane sail while thinking they're sailing on a sphere.
Just make it work in the math. That's all you got to do.
And we never had a mechanism to explain the corrections, so this is it.
Yeah, like my understanding is that you could reverse engineer this and
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
understand the world a little bit better.
Hey, I'll say this: the globe, which doesn't exist, is reverse engineered, Texas sharpshooter, preassumed, presuppositions, preassumed, everything. Everything is reverse engineered. I asked somebody in physics about 4 or 5 months ago, is physics reverse engineered to prove the ball? And the person said no. But you get into this, physics exists because physics is the study of the universe. Physics exists to prove the ball, and it's amazing that everything is basically reverse engineered, Texas sharpshooter, whatever you want to call it, and it all comes out to the ball.
Yep, and all the facts behind the ball apparently are they're all very questionable. Everything they write in history, is written by the victors. And there are books out there that completely refute everything that is written in history as fact. So
Oh, dude, did you happen to check out that His Pronouncement book that Jaren was reading and talking about recently, where the guy has all that documentation of how they basically trial and error troubleshooted spherical sailing or applying their spherically derived coordinate system from the plane and making the navigation and shit match up in the south and all the problems they were having?
no, that I would definitely want to check that out.
Oh,
for sure.
dude, yeah, I'll send you this book. It's called His Pronouncement. And the documentation on circumnavigation and just navigation in general is just fascinating. These dudes literally made this shit up. And then it was like people were dying, like 10,000 people a year would die to like, shipping accidents that could have easily been avoided. But like, their shit was off. And the map that they were following was correct and everything, but it was just a new map that had been, their adjustments and shit were on it. And there was even a case where some Royal Admiralty, someone that's in the Royal Navy or whatever, I forget, like an admiral or whatever, whoever would be in charge of the sailing of that ship and shit in the Royal Navy, he got into a fucking accident and he got off. They took him to trial and shit. They were going to try him for, whatever negligence, what have you. And he basically proved that the map that they gave him was complete bullshit. And that the thing that he ran into, he had no idea it was there, because the map he was following on his course that was plotted accurately to the map, and he was being true to the map, caused them to have this accident, and they let him go. They dropped the charges, and like he's got citations and everything for it. It's crazy. It was a really good book.
I've heard stuff about maps like that in war, and they're using the map and having troubles with it.
Oh, dude, I can link you. Yeah, keep rolling real quick. Let me link you this video. You can check it out. It's all these.
Well, if you Google when Antarctica was first discovered and then look at maps from the 1700s, there's clearly Antarctica was on the map, but it wasn't discovered until 1820 or something like that. That's what Google says.
Where was
Or it might have been
Maps.
1500s. I can't remember.
life? Yeah, I think this is it right here.
When you think of the world and architect,
Yeah. So during World War One, when people were going overseas to fight and shit, they realized that the maps that they had didn't work and weren't real, and they were like, getting lost and shit, and they had to update the map. Here's a link to the video. I'll link it in chat as well, in case anyone's there. So, yeah, just a quick history. Even within like the mainstream paradigm, there's like a fucking, hey, no, even everyone thought at this time, when all the maps were right, when they actually went to use them to navigate, and when men's lives and shit were on the line, they couldn't use the map and they had to get a new map. So it kind of tells you everything you need to know about their ability to perpetuate fake maps and make people believe shit. And then they just did it again. How funny is that, dog? They got busted. They were like, oh shit, you're right, we can't do that, and then they just did it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's just bullshit, man.
Oh my God.
If they have a heliocentric model, why are they using a geocentric model to navigate Earth?
Oh man.
Just doesn't make any sense. Like, is the heliocentric model math too hard just to stick with that?
Yeah.
They have to make it. If they have to use a plane and they have to use flat maps and they have to use, it just doesn't make sense.
The problem you get with the heliocentric map, the globe, the ball, is that it's 98,000 square miles in the north, 98,000 square miles in the south, but that is so untrue. It's actually more like 49,000 square miles in the north and 147,000 miles in the southern latitudes. That's why you see so much area below the 60th parallel. I mean, under the 60th parallel. South is because it's just huge down there, over there, whatever you want to call it. So everything is off because on the heliocentric globe is because they assume 98,000 on the top, 98,000 down below, and that's not what we see when you're actually down there. And so they're all messed up. But you have 5,000 people in Globerville online that tell us that that we're messed up, that the flat Earth is messed up, and it's just whoever screams the loudest gets the most attention. And we're trying to scream.
I'd like to see them go through this book and explain away the planocentric sphere and the geocentric position.
See, here's the problem that our side has, is that the academic credentialed people will maybe concede a little bit, the ones that teach in the universities and colleges, but when you get to Loon McToon and Craig and Not Professor Dave, and then down here to Discord and TikTok and things like that, they all listen to Loon, Craig, and Not Professor Dave. And those three people just lie through their teeth because their livelihood depends on their disciples. And so they're going to lie through their teeth. And tonight you had Loon and Craig on together, on Loon's show. I mean, you look at those two are as far from being serious individuals that you could possibly get, on a screen. It's just unbelievable.
What's another page you think is interesting?
Let me look here.
I think you said 200 something, but I got off page. I got sidetracked a little bit. As one does.
Well, it's all pretty interesting. I did look up a book about Mercury,
Oh yeah.
and I was trying to. This whole time I've been just scrolling and scrolling, trying to find where that book went. But it's in here
I
somewhere.
hate when
There's a
that
book.
happens. You got all the PDFs in the world, don't you?
So I'm looking for this book, but I couldn't find it. Sorry.
Yes, to you, man. Yeah, you're good.
So when they say geographic, are they meaning Ptolemy and Plato's geographic with a round Earth that doesn't revolve around the sun? Or when they say geographic, are they meaning stationary topographical plane?
They are meaning spherical stationary sphere. But
So
that has been hijacked. And that's what people think of it as. Obviously, it's a plane, right?
They describe it as a fundamental plane, right on
Mhm.
page 217. It's a fundamental plane,
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
and the way that's just what it is.
Oh
They're
right,
working
this.
off.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about their explanation for it or whatever.
Yeah. Because if you go back to geos, back in 1600s, when they talked about the shape of the Earth, they weren't so concerned about being a plane. They were concerned about whether it was going around the sun or not. And that was the big contention that Martin Luther had. Martin Luther, he didn't care about the shape of the Earth, whether it was a plane or a sphere. He was concerned whether it was going around the sun, and that's what Luther's thing was all about. So back then, they didn't care about whether we were on a plane or a ball. They just didn't want to know we were going around the sun. And even Luther talked about that, and so did Calvin, John Calvin. So when people say geocentric, a lot of people go back to Ptolemy and Plato, which means that we were a ball, but we weren't moving around the sun.
Right, and they're still trying to say that we live on a ball today.
That's kind of one reason I don't say geocentric, because geocentric reminds me of Ptolemy and Plato, and those two believed we lived on a ball. We just didn't go around the sun.
Right, but I mean, aren't we past that now? They should know that we're not
I don't know.
we're not stationary.
Who
And that's what
knows?
geocentric is geocentrism is stationary,
Yeah.
and the sky is revolving around us. It doesn't matter what we're living on. It's just the math
Yeah.
that is derived.
And obviously, if you get rid of the revolution around the sun or motion around the sun, which Michelson, Morley, and Dayton Miller did, and other people have done with interferometer experiments, then in a lot of ways it doesn't matter if we're round or a stationary plane, because we're not moving around the sun. But you get back to what the truth is, and obviously the truth is not a ball but a plane.
I just think they shouldn't be using geocentrism at all. They should just be using heliocentrism.
Yeah, I think this is just my opinion. Geocentrism should be struck from our vocabulary if we're a stationary topographical plane person. I think if you don't want to say topographical, cool. But so I would definitely say stationary plane. My hat, I don't know if you noticed my hat. My hat says stationary topographical plane on it. And the big word in that is stationary. The big word on top is stationary, and then we got topographical plane squeezed down below. So, but stationary is the big word. I mean, stationary. I mean, if you put, I told Alan this the first, our first little episode. If you say geocentric, half the people run to a dictionary to see what it means. But if you use the word stationary, everybody kind of goes, okay, I know what that means. Thank you very much. Now tell me why. and then we're ready to rock and roll.
I need one of those hats.
I
Get
have
one.
I have 3 of them. I have Under the Heavens. That way we don't have to worry about, what we're living on because it's under the heavens. And then I have Waterworld, not the movie, but
Oh yeah.
Genesis 1:6-10. And then I have Stationary Topographical Plane. So and the sad thing is I can't use STP because that's an oil additive or a gas additive, and so that's been trademarked and copyrighted a long time ago. But stationary is the big word. I mean, stationary. If you convince somebody we're stationary, Michelson, Morley, through Dayton Miller and every other interferometer experiment, if you can convince them they're stationary, you can convince them they don't live on a ball. It's pretty simple from there.
What are you saying?
What's up?
Like
Oh, I'm
Waddle?
just looking
He's
at the
he's enjoying a solar eclipse. Hey, did they mention the Selenalian eclipse in this book? They try to explain that one away.
oh.
Yeah, I don't think they mention it.
If that was a bottom-up eclipse, I could maybe give you refraction as a go-to, but if it's a top-down, so that kind of knocks out refraction.
Nice geocentric eclipse prediction model. All right. So so all right.
You sent me a video, Alan, but the beginning part of it was an ad that had a pizza ad. Thanks very much.
Nice.
Now I'm hungry.
All right. So I sent it the stuff it was used to describe the angles for the eclipses or the shadows, and how I was talking about, well, it's actually, all on a fucking plane and all this shit. So I sent it basically this page and this without the without the picture, obviously. And from that, it extrapolated that what they're doing is they're using projection angles, or they're using planar projections and regular trigonometry to get their eclipse shadow angles, and they're obviously assuming a planar geocentric model, not to be confused with an oblate spheroid geocentric model. Hey, you know what? A good question for the geocentrist people who are still into the heliocentrism stuff, and like, that the Earth's an actual sphere. How could you explain spherical excess and the oblateness and stuff? Um, since it's expressed mathematically to map out everything, if there's no, well, I guess they would just say it's a shitty looking oblate spheroid instead of a perfect one. Not a good argument. All right. They just live on a turd. they go. They're like, yeah, we live on a geocentric or whatever, and then like, well, it's not really a sphere though. And then they just have to concede if they want to still be on a sphere.
So if we're geocentric and on a sphere, but not moving around the sun, then what is the sun? Is the sun close and local, or is it still?
I don't think it's a physical object. Like when they talk
Yeah.
about sending radio waves and shit to it, they also describe the sun as a black body object, meaning that when they send a radio wave to it, it gets fucking absorbed and they don't get anything back. So I don't. Shit, 1 second. So I don't know what any of that's supposed to mean, when they talk about the distances and the physicality of it. So I really don't know if it's like a focal point, just something that we see. Because if you check this out, I got this video. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, in physics, Alan, you hit it on the nose. The sun is the focal point.
Yeah, check out this video. This dude has a really nice solar filter and a P900, and zooms in on the sun. It's really good. Forgot to share that with the boys earlier. It's really nice. So how do I put this on my other monitor? Download again. Load. Cool. Didn't save, did it?
Bradley.
This game sucks. Icon. Oh, there it is. All right, so check this out, Jim. Are you still watching on YouTube, Jim?
Oh, I'm good. I'm right here with my exoplanet.
Okay, it'll show up on YouTube in a second, probably like 15 seconds.
Okay.
But I'll play out this video. It's really cool. This dude has a P900. He zooms in with a solar filter on the sun, and you could see like what's up with it.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't got a solar filter yet for my P1000. I'm hesitant to do it. I may.
They're expensive, man, but you can get some, like, this will give you a reference of what you'll look at.
I think my question is, if I only look at the sun, when it's on the horizon or close to it, so it's not quite as bright, am I damaging my P1000 by not having a filter? And I haven't had anybody say yes or no to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Look at that shit. Yeah. It just zooms into a perfect sphere. And then so check this out, my dudes. They say that back in the day when they were taking solar observations, that from this sphere, that they derived that, it's oblate at the top as well, slightly bulged at the equator because the sun's also rotating in their fucking model. And they say that the South Pole is also a little oblate because everything's, going to the center of the rotating sun sphere. But look at this shit. This is high quality modern day shit. What are you talking about, bro? This is a fucking sphere.
Yeah,
it's definitely circle.
Yeah, he has a P1. He has a P1000. Yeah.
There ain't no oblateness about it. But yeah, so check that out. There's a little sunspot there.
That's a really cool photo.
They're like, oh look, because it's right there, it's on the side of the sphere. Nah, it's just close to the edge of the fucking disc, dude. Relax.
I might have to go get my sun filter now.
Yeah, take some sunspot obs, bro. These are cool as shit. I don't know what they are, but they're cool.
Yeah, well, whenever I take a video of the sun with my P1000, I always take it towards the end of when the sun is lower on the horizon, it's not nearly as bright. So I haven't pointed it at the sun like this guy does.
Yeah.
But here's my P1000. Right here. So
That P1000, boy. That's what's up.
I got Sunday, Monday. I got Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. 75 for a high, 50 for a low. No clouds. I'm looking
Nice.
forward to it.
That's what's up, dog. All right. Let's see how long we've been live, Jim Morley.
We started 3 hours and 23 minutes ago.
3 hours? I got 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Well, didn't we start at 11 your time and 10 my time?
Oh, that's right. Well, yeah, we had the pre-show. Right.
Well, yeah. We talked for a bit.
The pre-show, right? Just got baked out of my mind, and we just had deep conversations.
Yeah. We talked. Yeah, we didn't start till 45 minutes later.
Yeah.
Oh, here's one. 324.
Okay, let's see what we got
for
here.
the day. Last one for the night.
Yeah, 324.
Last paragraph.
Hey, how much do you think the sun filter costs? What that was a pretty neat sun filter. How much do you think that thing runs?
Oh, it depends. You can get a shitty one. You can get an expensive one. Now, just let it be known that no solar filter of any magnitude will be adequate for the Glober to accept your observation. So,
The Glober.
so keep that in mind when you're deciding on how much quality and stock you should invest in the observation. If it's just purely for fun, or if it's for evidentiarial purposes. Don't break your bank on it if you're trying to prove it to the lads. But yeah, that definitely cop a cheap one and just fuck around with it, and see if you're interested in getting a better one or something. You know what I mean? See what you can pull out of it. But so let's see here. We're talking about last paragraph. Do I need to read the whole thing for context or just the last?
Oh no, I think I don't know what I'm looking at here.
Oh wait,
it says
the selenographic position of the sun. This is what Jim was asking about.
Okay, yeah.
Do we have the selenilian eclipse here?
Yeah.
Cool.
Allegedly, the selenographic latitude and longitude of the subsolar point of the lunar surface are obtained immediately by replacing the geocentric elliptical coordinates of the moon in the formula with the selenographic coordinate system of the Earth by the heliocentric elliptical coordinate system of lambda subscript h times beta, comma beta subscript h of the moon. Expressions of the heliocentric coordinate system are readily found from the plane triangles formed by the space from the sun and the moon and the Earth and the projection of the heliocentric and geocentric distances of the moon on the plane of the ecliptic without Dog, what? What's a selenographic? I thought he was talking about alien eclipses.
I think that's Oh, go ahead.
Did they just fucking say that it's all derived from a fucking plane using right angle triangles, and then they can use a formula to switch to the heliocentric ecliptic coordinate system?
Did they just say that? Because it says expressions.
Dog.
I think they just said that.
Oh, hold on. Okay, I have to write these pages down actually so I can bring them up later. Because you definitely got to do a little presentation on this.
So what page is where it says expressions for the heliocentric coordinates? Where's that?
324.
324, because that's basically telling you right there the heliocentric coordinates are readily found from the plane triangles formed in space by the Earth, Sun, and Moon, and the projections of the heliocentric and geocentric distances on the plane of the elliptic. So it's basically
Expressions
telling
of the
they're
helio, dude.
using a
I'm
plane.
kind of low key having a moment right now. Like this is thanks, man. Thanks, Canadian Bacon. What's your real name, dog? If you don't
Canadian
mind, or
Bacon is
first
your
name,
real name.
if you
Is your real name Donald Trump? Canadian Bacon.
if you're comfortable with your first
uh,
name at least or something, because I just want to thank you, man. This is awesome. This is fucking insane, dog.
Yeah, he just gave us more reading material here. Thanks.
Like this is literally about to become like my next thing. Like like I beat relativity into the ground. It's dead as fuck. Like understanding this and figuring out the how like exactly how they're applying it to the almanac shit is gonna be fantastic, dog.
yeah, if we
And
could
I would
just,
like to work with you on that or
heck
whatever. Like
yeah,
if you're
man, that would be
interested,
awesome.
because this is fucking sick, dude. This is actually like I was saying. I was looking into celestial navigation and shit, and what I found was we really had was an explanation for the mechanism of how it could be done, but we had no proof. And the ballers have the almanac, they have the traverse tables, they have planar sailing on a Mercator map. So it's like, okay, man, sorry. Like, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. But this is where we come back with that fucking left hook, dog, and Mike Tyson sleeps a motherfucker.
It's not that we have to decode the entire book. It's just 3 stars, 3 positions, or you know what I
Right,
mean? Like 3
right,
positions on Earth that can be demonstrated. That's it.
right.
If you can break it down into, okay, here's what's in the book, here's how they did it, and here's what it looks like, and this is the truth. And if we can, decode it and put it
Yeah,
all
dog.
together.
Are you available tomorrow? Let me see what we got going on tomorrow night on the Discord. Um,
Well, I
tomorrow at
have.
7, brainwashed.
Yeah, I can't make it tomorrow, but Thursday, Friday is good.
Thursday, Friday. Let's see what we got for Thursday, Friday. Fuck, we got our thing on Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday, right? Today's
Tomorrow's
today's
Wednesday.
no,
Tomorrow.
today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday.
Oh yeah, right now it's Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, are you available Friday, Canadian?
Yep.
What times does it work for you? Like
It'll be
around
after 7 Pacific time.
7 PS. So anytime after 7 PST?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna schedule an event for you could make it at 11?
Yep.
Your
I
time?
can make it at 11. Yeah, I can make it at 11 my time.
Okay, I'm gonna schedule you an event for Friday at 11, and it doesn't have to be anything too crazy or anything. You don't have to sweat or anything. But if you could just come on Discord and tell everyone about this and go through the main key points that in pages that you want referenced, and if there's anything in the meantime that you want me to look into and try and see if I can get further explanations on to help you, and then just convey this information to the boys on Friday, and then we can get this elevated, dog, because this needs this needs to be implemented into arguments for the battlegrounds. This is ammo for the boys. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
so yeah.
Are we talking 11? Okay, so it'll be 1 and 2 a.m. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll create
Do you
this
have to do it
later.
that late or what? Because I do
Uh,
work Saturday.
I was just trying to get it in as soon as possible.
We can figure it out. No worries.
Yeah.
He,
So
he said after 7 o'clock his time, so he could go at 8 or 9, which would be 10 or 11 for us, if that's possible.
oh, did you say 7? I thought you said
7
not.
Pacific time.
Oh, I thought you said 9 for some reason. Okay, yeah. So what would 10 be? That would be
8 p.m. this time.
8 p.m. for you. So okay, yeah. So 8 p.m. Let me write this down. 8 p.m. PST
Yeah.
and Canadian bacon, and this is the explanatory supplement.
Yeah.
And okay, I'll create the rest of it from there. So Friday.
Yeah, because 8 p.m. is 10 Central, 11 Eastern, and then Canadian Bacon has to work on Saturday, so he can get off, when he wants to, and get to work on Saturday, get a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I totally didn't understand what you were saying when you said that. I'm so like hyper excited for this to happen because this is great ammo, dog. This is like what you would call the missing piece to otherwise flawless arguments. You know what I'm saying, dog? Because this is exactly what the FED guys have been saying, but we just had no way of showing it, And you just come
Well,
in hot with a full fucking 500-page document where they, in plain English, just say expressions for the heliocentric coordinate system are readily found from a plane triangle formed by the sun, moon, and Earth, and the projections of the heliocentric and geocentric distances of the moon on the plane of the ecliptic with sufficient accuracy. Crazy.
and that's page 324. Okay. Good.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more people attack this, and I know there's a lot of brilliant guys out there, so
Oh, yeah, dude.
brilliant minds.
Yeah, absolutely, dog. We're about to send the fucking squad after this.
It's just anybody can reverse engineer anything. Math can do anything you want it to.
No,
Yeah,
exactly, man. And this provides exactly how they got their measurements in the first place so that they could then start to use the math to make the lie.
And when they use pi and whatnot, it's
Mhm.
not specific to the ground that you're standing on. It's to the the rotation of the stars, and then sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with the sphericity of the ground, right?
Yeah, sometimes they apply it to um like
And you
sideways to the equator, you know what I mean, just to describe the Earth, but they're not actually even including anything about it other than um uh a circle, you know what I mean? That it doesn't even have to
yeah,
be a sphere, right? So it could be the circle of the sky, you know what I mean? Yeah, so
exactly,
yeah, so
exactly.
yeah, it's really fucking fascinating, man. And if I'm not mistaken, too, I think nautical miles, there was some relationship that they have to do with pi and the perfect circle or whatever, right? Because pi is the perfect circle, right? The 3.14. So anything that they're deriving from that would be like a perfect sphere.
Right.
So yeah, if I'm not mistaken, nautical miles have some relationship with pi as well, and how they use it. Saw that on a Brian's Logic video. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. That makes sense. So yeah, it's not an equator in the sense of half of a sphere. It's literally just a fucking circle that they're splitting the plane at, and then using that as the jumping off point to make a symmetrical sphere that they then turn around and use math to say is oblate, but they really derived everything from where was that one section with the moon? Was that 41? Yeah, with the shadows.
Well, I know there's one flat earther that we could call upon. He was on Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues videos, and he's a guy that used to do all the math for the army and the plane routes. Well, actually, not the plane routes, but what are they called? You come in the airports. So the airports for the army, and the math used to bring the planes in. It's a certain degree, so it's 3-degree, approach.
Right.
And it was like, he said if the math I used was on a plane. It wasn't spherical trigonometry or anything. He didn't use that because, you know, over whatever it is, a couple hundred meters, it's or no, a couple hundred, no, it's like 12 kilometers or something. I can't remember. But anyways, he goes into it. He's really good with math. He would be a guy that we should try and get a hold of, maybe, because he could go through this whole book with his, you know, his eyes closed
Yeah, for sure.
with the math.
Well, you know what's interesting too that Witsit just pointed out, how it says that it's done in accordance with Newtonian law. In his recent episode or whatever, he just found that the way they do their calculations for their gravitational effects is that they calculate the Earth as geocentric, obviously, and the effects, the gravitational effects of everything else are creating like a centrifugal situation, and it's basically rotating around us at a central point. So that's hilarious that people will read this and think, oh, Newtonian law, that means balls in a shed attracting to gravitation. And then they'll read this and be like, modified by the theory of general relativity. And they'll be like, oh yeah, dude, when Einstein figured out that gravity was more than just two balls coalescing in a shed observed by a guy with a telescope, it was the curvature of nothing, you know.
Yep, they leave that in there for a reason.
Oh, dude, that's
Absolutely.
such a bait. You know what? That's such a bait, and
That's
it's
what stuck
literally
out to me right away when I started reading it, because
and
there's a few of those things in here.
yeah, and it's literally meaningless because, like, yeah, he literally went through the equations and how they account for the centrifugal, and the Euler's force and how they cook everything in, and they're basically saying that all the gravitational forces are the centrifugal, and Euler's forces, and that's what they have to cook into the calculations, and then the Earth obviously being geocentric is, and this is like for their orbital mechanics stuff. This isn't for, like, you know, for them to like fuck around and play Dungeons and Dragons with while they're on break. This is like the shit that they say that they derive their orbital mechanics for satellites and shit, where they're like dealing with like gravitational tug of war and shit like that, and they go into the Lagrange points and all that. This is where they're figuring, like, that's how they figure it out. Like, it has nothing to do with fucking balls attracting balls in a fucking shed, and the mass of the ball makes the other ball move towards it. It's fucking stupid, you know. Yeah, but yeah, they literally put this bait in there, and people read that, and it just pacifies them. They just get their little pacifier out, and they're just like, they just start sucking on it.
Yep, exactly.
They
But
love
yeah.
their They love their Cavendish.
Love their cabinet. So page 11, do you remember what page the eclipse stuff, shadows and stuff was on? So I'm going to give a brief overview tomorrow when I talk to the boys. I want to showcase some of this stuff.
I'm gonna knock out a Canadian bacon. It's been great to talk with you. Hopefully we can talk many more times. And my good friend AM, I will see you soon.
Peace,
Yeah,
man.
man, it was good talking. Thanks
Yeah,
for talking with us.
Yeah, I'm going to head off here too soon. Like, I just remembered I got to be up early in the morning. But dude, thank you again for bringing this up and following up with me. This is fucking
Absolutely.
awesome. I wish I had caught that episode of Cornerism. I've got a backlog of shit to catch up on, and oh man, I'm so sad I missed it, because I would have picked up on this immediately as soon as you started showing it, or, telling, like, directing me where to go. I was like, oh shit, this is that shit, dog.
Yep, it's gonna be good. I think this is it right here.
Yeah, this is gonna bang out all of their traverse tables and almanac correction tables that they refer to for their planar sailing. This is it. Like, because I literally couldn't proceed forward circular and then not really work out in the way I thought it did. So it was just like, all I had was the possibility that this could happen. You know, that I was pretty sure that this was what was happening, but I didn't have any documentation of it, and this is it. So,
Yeah, man. Like, I just want to say, like, because I was looking at that Toon challenge, and he was saying the almanac is based on a spherical model, heliocentric model, but it's not. It's based on geocentric model.
no, and you know what's crazy too is all their spherical coordinate system challenges will always go back to the spherical ball, you know, that they say. So it's not even like a challenge. It's like a reification fallacy, you know,
Yep,
somehow.
exactly. They make the
Because
maps. They make the
yeah,
maps.
because
It's all
every fucking map conforms to the spherical core, even the Gleasons, which looks great. But the reason everything's extended and fucked up is because they, in order to patent it, to give him the patent, he had to revise his map and adhere to their lat lawn system.
Yep, exactly. All right, man. I'm gonna
Yeah,
peace out.
yeah. You have a good night, man. I'm gonna hop off here soon and get back to this. But yeah, I'm gonna hit the boys up tomorrow with this, and then I'll schedule your thing and for what time was it? 8 p.m. PST.
Right on.
So thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. All right, cool. So that's the conclusion for the stream tonight. Thanks for all who attended and all future potential people who watch this. This was the night your boy Canadian Bacon showed up and dropped some fucking gravy in the form of a 547-page document that adequately explains all of the deception that we've been rambling on about for years. So hopefully still nobody takes us seriously and we all just kind of hang out and know this profound truth. And you know, and for those who are willing to accept it, are you know, can venture down these rabbit holes. But this is an awesome find. Thanks so much again, Canadian. Thanks to my co-host Jim and everyone hanging out in the chat, whoever was here tonight. You know, I hope everyone has a good night. I'm going to go ahead and close the show. And I don't have an outro transition, so just look at me awkwardly staring into OBS while I look for the... Oh, stop streaming. There we go.